Stacy Marks entered the world of Power Book 4 Force not as a background character, but as someone whose presence demanded attention. She carried herself with a quiet confidence, a mix of sharp intelligence and raw emotion that made her both respected and feared. From the very first moments, it was clear that Stacy was not just another player in the game of power and crime. She was a strategist, a thinker, and someone who could see angles others overlooked. Every decision she made, every alliance she formed carried weight, and her absence would later echo through the lives of everyone around her. Her journey through Season 3 was a tightrope between loyalty and self-preservation. Stacy often found herself in situations that tested her values, her courage, and her understanding of the world she was trying to navigate. She had moments of triumph where her plans succeeded against all odds and moments of heartbreak, when trust was broken and danger struck too close to home. Unlike many in the series, Stacy never relied solely on intimidation or force. She relied on understanding people, reading their intentions, and knowing when to push and when to retreat. This balance made her a compelling character, someone whose actions were unpredictable, yet entirely believable throughout the season. Viewers saw Stacy interacting with a wide range of characters, each relationship leaving its mark on her and the story. She built alliances that were strategic but also deeply personal. Some people saw her as a friend, someone to confide in, while others saw her as a threat, someone to watch and fear. These relationships were never static. They evolved, twisted, and sometimes shattered, creating ripples that impacted every plotline. Stacy's intelligence meant she often stayed one step ahead, but it also isolated her, as few could fully understand her motives or predict her next move. She was admired, envied, and sometimes hated, but always remembered. One of the defining aspects of Stacy's character was her resilience. Even when situations seemed impossible, she found ways to adapt, survive, and influence outcomes. She faced betrayals that would have broken many, yet she emerged with her principles intact, though often marked by the cost of her choices. Season 3 put Stacy in situations that tested her loyalty to allies, her ability to trust, and her commitment to her own moral compass. These trials revealed her complexity. She was not purely good or evil, but human, capable of courage, compassion, and cunning in equal measure. Her moments of reflection, brief as they were, often showed the audience a character who understood the stakes and the consequences of every action she took. Stacy Marks also represented the emotional heart of the season. While the show is known for its crime, scheming, and power struggles, Stacy reminded viewers of the human cost behind every decision. Her interactions were layered with emotion, tension, and unspoken truths. Even when she remained silent, her presence communicated power, vulnerability, and insight. She was a mirror for the other characters, reflecting their fears, ambitions, and weaknesses. The world of Power Book 4 Force can be unforgiving, but Stacy's journey highlighted that strength is not only about physical dominance or intimidation. It is about intelligence, resilience, and the ability to navigate chaos while maintaining some sense of self. As Season 3 progressed, Stacy's decisions began to have consequences that reshaped the narrative. Her moves were not isolated. They influenced rivalries, alliances, and the overall power dynamics in the city. Every step she took, whether in negotiation or confrontation, carried tension and weight. Audiences could see how her actions, both bold and calculated, set off chains of events that no one could ignore. Stacy Marks was more than a character. She was a turning point, a reminder that in a world driven by power and survival, one person's choices could change everything. Her legacy, already cemented in Season 3, was a testament to the impact a single, determined individual can have in a universe built on strategy, risk, and ambition. Stacy Marks' presence in Season 3 was defined not just by her actions, but by the subtle power she wielded over every room she entered. She had an uncanny ability to read situations and people with a precision that made her almost untouchable. While others relied on brute force or intimidation, Stacy operated in the spaces between. In whispers, glances, and decisions made long before anyone else realized what was happening. Every encounter, every conversation seemed ordinary on the surface, but beneath lay layers of strategy, careful calculation, and awareness of consequences. It was this quality that made her both a trusted ally and a dangerous opponent. Those who underestimated her learned the hard way that Stacy's strength wasn't visible, it was felt. Season 3 revealed a deeper side of Stacy, one that few other characters could see. Behind the tough exterior and the sharp wit, there was a woman navigating loyalty and betrayal in a world that had little room for error. She had to balance friendships and alliances with the reality of survival in a city where power shifts like sand and trust was always fragile. Some days, it was clear that Stacy carried the weight of her choices more heavily than anyone realized. She moved through the chaos with a combination of calculated calm and raw intuition, never letting the city see her crack. But those who paid attention caught glimpses of the vulnerability she hid so carefully. A fleeting moment of doubt, a quiet reflection in an empty room, a pause before making a decision that could alter lives. Her interactions with key players in the season were as tense as they were revealing. Every negotiation, every confrontation, every alliance she formed was layered with meaning. Stacy understood that survival was never about being liked, it was about being respected. Feared when necessary and unpredictable enough that no one could fully anticipate her next move. She created situations where her influence could shift the balance of power, often without anyone realizing it until it was too late. Even in moments when it seemed she might lose control, Stacy found ways to turn the situation to her advantage, demonstrating a mastery of both human behavior and the harsh realities of the streets. The season also highlighted Stacy's moral complexity. She was not simply a character defined by right or wrong. Her decisions reflected the gray spaces where survival demanded compromise. She made choices that were sometimes controversial, sometimes shocking, but always driven by a combination of necessity, loyalty, and self-preservation. Viewers saw her wrestling with the consequences of her actions, recognizing that every gain came at a cost and every decision had repercussions. This moral ambiguity made her relatable. Even as she operated in a world filled with danger and duplicity, Stacy was a reminder that in a world built on power, intelligence and foresight were as critical as strength, and that the stakes of every action reached far beyond the moment. In Season 3, Stacy's moments of tension often coincided with the shifting dynamics of the city's underworld. Rivalries flared, alliances fractured, and new threats emerged, all of which demanded her attention and tested her resilience. Through it all, Stacy navigated the chaos with a combination of foresight and instinct, understanding that one wrong move could not only end her plans but also threaten her life. Her influence extended beyond immediate actions. She shaped how others reacted, forcing them to adapt and adjust to her presence. She became a fulcrum of the story, a pivot point around which the ambitions, fears, and strategies of others revolved. Yet, Stacy Marks' greatest strength was not just in her ability to strategize, it was in her presence. She carried with her an aura that made people listen, consider, and hesitate. She could command attention without speaking loudly, dominate a conversation without aggression, and influence outcomes without ever stepping into the spotlight. Season 3 allowed viewers to see her intelligence in motion, to watch her weave through threats and opportunities with precision. Even when faced with betrayal or danger, she responded with measured action, proving that power was not just about control, it was about knowing when to act, when to wait, and how to make others act in ways that benefited her goals. Stacy's journey in this season also reminded viewers that power comes at a cost. Every alliance she made, every choice she took, left ripples that shaped the city and the lives of those around her. Friends became enemies, enemies became allies, and every interaction carried consequences. Stacy Marks embodied the delicate balance of ambition, loyalty, and survival, proving that strength is measured not just in moments of confrontation but in the quiet, unseen decisions that ultimately define a person's influence and legacy. By the end of the season, it was clear that Stacy was more than a player, she was a force, and her presence would continue to shape events long after the screen went dark. Season 3 deepened the story of Stacy Marks by showing not only her power, but also the consequences of it. Every move she made, every alliance she formed, began to create a ripple effect that could not be ignored. Stacy was a character who understood the weight of influence and the fragility of trust. She knew that in a world built on power, one small misstep could unravel everything she had worked for. Unlike others who relied on sheer force or intimidation, Stacy's strength lay in her foresight and her ability to anticipate human behavior. She watched, listened, and acted at precisely the right moment, making decisions that often seemed effortless but were, in reality, the product of careful calculation and a deep understanding of the people around her. One of the most compelling aspects of Stacy's journey in this season was the way she handled betrayal. Betrayal was inevitable in her world. Friends and enemies often switched roles without warning. Yet, Stacy faced these moments with a combination of strategic thinking and emotional resilience. She never let betrayal catch her completely off guard. Even when others thought they had outsmarted her, Stacy's response was measured, precise, and often unexpected. She turned threats into opportunities, weaknesses into advantages, and challenges into lessons. Her ability to stay composed under pressure highlighted not only her intelligence, but also her understanding of the delicate balance between trust and caution. Every interaction became a lesson in observation, every confrontation a demonstration of her calculated skill. Season 3 also revealed Stacy's emotional depth. Beyond the strategies and schemes, she was a character driven by personal stakes. The losses she endured, the decisions she had to make, and the moral compromises she faced all revealed a person who was more than just a player in the game. She was a human being navigating impossible choices. Her moments of vulnerability were subtle but powerful, showing that even the strongest players carry the weight of their experiences. Stacy's ability to balance strength with vulnerability made her relatable and layered, providing viewers with a window into the human side of power. These moments reminded the audience that behind every calculated move was a person who felt, feared, and hoped even in the harshest of environments. Throughout the season, Stacy's relationships with other key characters were tested in ways that pushed her to her limits. Alliances shifted, loyalties were questioned, and every connection had the potential to become either a stepping stone or a threat. Stacy navigated these relationships with intelligence and tact, understanding that survival required both discernment and influence. She built connections that served strategic purposes, but also acknowledged the emotional dimensions of these bonds. These relationships were complex, often tense, and filled with the potential for both conflict and collaboration. Stacy's ability to maneuver within this intricate web of alliances and rivalries emphasized her mastery of the game and her understanding that true power comes not from isolation, but from influence over others. This season also highlighted Stacy's skill in crisis management. She encountered situations where timing, patience, and judgment became her most powerful tools. When others reacted impulsively, Stacy remained calm, assessing the risks and considering every possible outcome. She acted with precision, often creating solutions that turned dangerous scenarios into opportunities for advancement. Her tactical mind allowed her to see connections others missed, and her instinctive awareness of the human element ensured that her strategies were always grounded in reality. Stacy's ability to combine intellect, intuition, and emotional insight demonstrated why she was such a formidable presence in Season 3's. Ultimately, Stacy Marks' journey in this part of the season was a testament to the complexity of power. She was not defined solely by victories or defeats, but by the way she adapted, influenced, and persevered through constant change. Her story was a careful balance of action and reflection, strategy and emotion, ambition and morality. Every decision she made had consequences that shaped the world around her, and her presence left an indelible mark on the narrative. Season 3 allowed viewers to witness Stacy not just surviving but thriving in a world that demanded constant vigilance, strategic thinking, and unwavering resilience. Her journey became a reminder that true influence is measured not only by what one achieves, but by the way one shapes the lives and decisions of others, leaving a legacy that resonates long after the moment has passed. As Season 3 progressed, Stacy Marks' story became a reflection of both power and consequence, showing that no matter how calculated or careful, every choice carried weight. Stacy had always been more than just a player in the game. She was a strategist, a thinker, and a force whose presence could alter the course of events without a single dramatic confrontation. What made her so compelling in this season was how she navigated the aftermath of her own actions and the unpredictable reactions of those around her. Every move she made rippled through the city, influencing rivalries, shaking alliances, and forcing even the most confident characters to rethink their positions. Stacy understood the subtle art of influence, knowing that sometimes control was silent, invisible, and undeniable. One of the most significant aspects of Stacy's final arc in this season was the way her past decisions began to converge. Alliances she had formed, promises she had made, and strategies she had executed all came back to test her in ways she could not have anticipated. It was in these moments of convergence that viewers saw her brilliance, but also her humanity. Stacy was faced with dilemmas where the lines between right and wrong blurred completely. She had to weigh loyalty against survival, emotion against strategy, and personal desire against the larger consequences of her actions. These challenges revealed the depth of her character, a woman who could be ruthless when necessary, but also capable of reflection, compassion, and insight into the lives she touched. Season 3 also highlighted Stacy's impact on the people around her, especially those who underestimated her. Characters who once dismissed her as just another name in the crowded underworld found themselves reacting to her influence, adjusting their plans, and even fearing the unseen power she wielded. Stacy's presence was a constant reminder that intelligence, foresight, and emotional awareness often outweighed brute force. Her interactions with allies and adversaries alike carried subtle lessons, each conversation layered with intention. She taught those around her that power was not always about confrontation. It was about the ability to shape outcomes quietly, strategically, and irreversibly. Even when she was absent from a scene, her influence lingered, a testament to the careful attention she paid to every detail. What made Stacy Marks unforgettable in this season was her ability to balance survival with legacy. She operated in a world where one wrong move could end everything. Yet she consistently thought several steps ahead. Her foresight was not just tactical, it was personal. She understood that her actions would leave a mark, that her choices could inspire loyalty or fear, and that her story would outlive the immediate conflicts she faced. In moments of reflection, viewers could sense the weight of her awareness. Stacy knew she was playing a game that few could comprehend fully. But she also knew that her actions mattered, that they shaped the lives of others and the course of events in ways both visible and unseen. By the end of her arc, Stacy's journey in Season 3 was less about the battles she fought in the streets, and more about the battles she fought within herself. Her intelligence, courage, and resilience were constant, but it was her moral complexity and emotional depth that set her apart. She faced loss, betrayal, and danger with a grace that was rare in a world defined by chaos and violence. Stacy Marks became a symbol of strategic brilliance, emotional resilience, and quiet influence, a reminder that true power is not measured by the loudest actions, but by the subtle ways one shapes the world and the people in it, even in her absence. Her story lingered. Characters adjusted to her legacy, the city shifted under the weight of her choices, and the audience could not forget the combination of cunning, courage, and heart that defined Stacy Marks. She had carved her place in the narrative not through spectacle alone, but through intelligence, foresight, and the quiet authority that demanded attention. Season 3 reminded viewers that some characters leave a mark not by surviving every battle, but by influencing every story they touch. Stacy's presence, her decisions, and her legacy became a lens through which the season's events were magnified, making her one of the most compelling, unforgettable figures in Power Book 4 Force.